Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
Wait, Matt? I'm getting word from McDonald's Japan. They're asking specifically for you.
Oh, no.
Matt, they specifically requested that you create the collaboration meal for the super collab between McDonald's, Ado, Sobi, and Suisei. So Matt, you gotta pick the main, you gotta pick the side, gotta pick the drink and the dessert.
Oh, I mean, okay, obviously, since this is, McDonald's Japan, you have to have some kind of, special, what is it called? Shake fries?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, but I don't know what flavor goes with, those three specifically. Oh, man. Jaren, I believe we have one more correspondent on the show that,
Okay.
Matt, give a hand
Matt,
here.
I'm going to put McDonald's Japan on hold while I introduce one of my other best friends in the whole wide world, Rakush. Hey, Rakush.
Yo, Jaren.
A few weeks ago, the WWE 2K25 DLC was announced for the year. Rakush, how are you feeling about New Jack and Abyss appearing as DLC?
Abyss makes sense because he works behind the scenes with WWE. New Jack is a wild one because apparently, was it Nick Khan? Apparently was a big fan of his or something, which is so bizarre. I don't know. It's just weird. Matt, and for the people listening to us who have no idea who New Jack is, he took things extremely far in his matches. If you look him up, you'll probably find a bunch of just people that have been seriously injured by him, and yet one of the most entertaining wrestlers of all time.
Fair. Rakush, follow-up question. This season we'll also see 3 NBA stars on the DLC roster. Who are the 3 NBA? Who do you predict to be the 3 NBA stars?
I think Tyrese Halliburton is a lock. He's been showing up a lot with WWE. I would be surprised if he's not one of the 3.
He had a small angle with someone else, correct?
I think so, yeah. Because, he showed up, and then, I think he just started, beefing with people while they were in New York, if I remember correctly. So, I wouldn't be surprised if someone from New York makes it, probably Jalen Brunson or something like that.
Yeah, I believe that was them.
I honestly have no idea who the third person is.
What? Do you think it's Shaq, or do you think it's Trae Young?
It might be Shaq would make sense. I think Shaq would make sense, but if you're doing story reasons, yeah, maybe Trae Young. I don't know. It's weird.
Fair. Matt. McDonald's Japan, they were like, Sumima-san, we need Matt to give us the meal. Have you had it on lock?
Jaren, honestly, I have no idea. Because when I'm looking at, I'm trying to goof on, their songs, but, none of their songs are good flavors.
Fair.
Because, Jaren, when I think of, Yoasobi, the first song I'll think of is, Crying in the Rain. And now I'm just thinking of, a soggy burger, and that's not good.
Drenched in sauce.
And then, when I think of Suise, I'm thinking of shooting stars and just stuff like that. Because, that's kind of her whole theme. And now I'm thinking of I'm thinking of Pop Rocks, and I don't know if that's worse on fries or inside of a milkshake.
Guys, since you were in Japan recently, does Japan have the McFlurry?
I didn't check what their McFlurry flavors are.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know if they had a McFlurry. I definitely know they had one of those melon sodas.
Big fair.
Fantastic, by the way. But yeah.
All right, man. I'm just gonna tell them apples everywhere.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. McDonald's has apple slices. Okay, before we get too far away from melon soda, guys, I think that melon soda by itself, I don't like as much as a melon soda with a cream element. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I'm not the biggest fan of melon soda, where whenever I travel and I see one, I'll pick it up and I'll realize I sort of put it in the same realm as a cream soda, where it's not my first choice, but if the opportunity presents itself, I'll take a swig, but not my first choice. Not my first choice.
Yeah, I think it's like a time and place thing where it's yeah, if you're in Japan and you see it at McDonald's, it's like, okay, I gotta try this. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, the boys were here. We made it another week, and that's victory on it onto itself. So applaud us for surviving. But boys, this past weekend was Toronto Comic Con,
Mm-hmm.
and I attended once again this year, once again with my siblings and my partner, and we usually go to these events, whether it be, you know me, I like going to a good collector expo. And in terms of just vibes, I like going to Comic Con, I like going to Fan Expo, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not fully partaking in the Comic Con or Fan Expo experience just because usually when we go, we loiter, for lack of a better term, loiter around all the activations. We go around all the different vendors. We try to survive Artist Alley, but we never go to any real panels. And I think we usually cap off the day by hanging out in the cosplay area just to people watch. And for this Comic Con, that was no different. Matt, gotta say,
Mm-hmm.
saw a pretty dope Belle cosplay. Didn't say anything because I respect
Nice.
people's boundaries, but it was a sick Belle cosplay. But
Mm.
there's one thing I wanted to tell you guys. I wanted to relay a potential mistake on my part here at Toronto Comic Con 2025, where
Oh no.
once again, I was browsing around Artist Alley. You know, I went with my sister as well. She saw one of her friends manning a booth, so they were talking. My partner went to talk with them as well. And my eyes were wandering. And that,
Uh-huh.
to you specifically, I look in the corner of my eye and I think, wait, is that the one I went to the dance with Jane from Zenless Zone Zero on this
Ooh.
booth?
Mm-hmm.
And then my eyes peered over, and boys, it was a, let's just say, pillow cover booth, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm side eyeing it and thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just look to appreciate the Jane fan art.
Oh no.
So
Jared.
I went to the booth, and then I see Jane, I see Bernice, I see Nicole, and a bunch of Genshin people because Matt, you know, Genshin's still a
Mm-hmm.
big thing in Artist Alley,
Mm-hmm.
for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
So the vendor sees my bag, and we get to talking. And then Matt,
Wait, which bag did you have, Jared?
I was wearing my Supreme bag because
Okay.
I'm an asshole. Rakush knows
Uh-huh.
what's up. Thanks, Rakush. And we get to talking, and Matt, I notice he's wearing a Mio sweater. And I said, hey,
Mm-hmm.
dope sweater. And he said, oh, thanks. It's not a streetwear brand. I'm like, I know. That's a Mio hoodie. And he's like, oh, you're a VTuber fan. Matt, it happened.
Oh man.
We
That's
started
good.
wrapping VTubers. I said, man, I was debating if I should wear this hoodie or my Sana hoodie. And I went with this hoodie because it was a bit warmer. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, oh, you're a Santa light. And Matt,
Uh-huh.
you know how I felt.
Uh-huh.
Had so, you know, I'm more so into ID. And it was one of those eye-opening experiences where, you know, he's repping this booth, but he works for essentially I believe, make their fan art, and then they print it on their dakis, their acrylic stands,
Mm-hmm.
their prints and whatnot. And then he kind of got into the business of, I've been trying to get our head to do more VTuber stuff, but of course, you got to play to the market, and the market is EN, and I'm pushing for Flala Moko, and I think we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
do it next time we come around. And I thought, no, respectable, respectable. And then we started talking about how no one has any ID stuff, and you know, I said I'm gonna take a loop around, and I'm gonna keep walking. And
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
my partner and I were at one of the card booths, you know, looking at some cards that we could probably look. And boys, not gonna lie, might have let out a. So,
Ooh.
would it be weird if I bought a body pillowcase?
Oh no.
And she
Ooh.
looked at me and said, yeah, it would kind of be weird. Boys, the dream died that day. I
Damn.
come to
Damn.
you a shell of a man because, Matt, I
Mhm.
unfortunately do not have a Jane body pillow
Ah.
in our guest bedroom.
Damn.
And I'm thinking
Damn.
about the one that got away. Matt, I did pick up
Oh man.
because he entertained me with conversation about VTubers, so I picked up the Jane acrylic stand.
Mm-hmm.
And a few booths down, I picked up. I did see not. I'm also a hypocrite because I did see a booth dedicated to specifically Hololive VTubers. Saw a bunch of keychains. I saw a Risu one. I saw a Koba one. But Matt, I picked up the Fubuki one because it was Fubuki, a drawing of Fubuki saying Yabai. And Matt, you know how much I love Yabai.
That's good. Man.
So that was my Toronto Comic Con 2025. My sister did not get a chance to take a picture with Arthur and DW from Arthur fame because the line was too long. And once again, Retro Kid wants you to pay like $80 or worth of merch, or pay like 10 or 20 for the actual photo op. So it comes with the territory. But maybe next time. Rakush, have you ever been to any Toronto convention in recent memory?
No, but I'm about to. I actually finally, after like 20 years, bought tickets to one of the Anime North days that's coming up this year. Gonna be going on the Friday one where it's I forget what it's called, but it's like basically like the vendor like flea market kind of thing, where like people are just selling like their own stuff to clear out stock or whatever. And like one of my friends was like really kind of touting it, and like I think this year I finally got convinced, have a decent amount of disposable income to go and actually buy one or two things. So yeah,
man, I'm pretty sure actually, I'll talk to you afterwards just to see what the ticket situation is, because I might be interested. But
yeah, it seems fairly affordable. But I mean, look, even if I don't buy anything, I think it might just be nice for me to go there every like once couple of years, I guess. And yeah,
just for vibes, gotta respect the cosplayers. Who knows, Rakush? Maybe you too will see someone wearing a hoodie of a hobby you like, and you too will start to chop it up while trying to resist the urge to buy a daki of one of your favorite characters. But
see, I actually want to make you feel better about this, Jaren, because think about it like this, right? If that body pillow is going into the guest bedroom, do you really want your guests sleeping with your waifu?
Honestly, when Jaren mentioned that it was gonna go into the guest bedroom, I more so imagined it that it stops being the guest bedroom and starts being the body pillow's bedroom.
Jaren's bedroom.
And then like, I don't know, just at night, Jaren like goes into the room and like tucks it in.
This is how we find out Jaren has started sleeping in a different room from his partner.
That room currently has all the Hololive tapestry as well.
Also,
so
Jaren, I'm just saying, a body pillow is just a wooden rod away from being a wall scroll. So
fair enough.
Right. Partner did not say no to a wall scroll, just a body pillow.
And I mean, I have a roll full of tapestries already, right, boys?
But also vice versa, right? Like if you have a wall scroll, it is just a couple of pins away from becoming a body pillow.
Oh, good point.
That's a lot harder.
I don't know. I think you can make it work. Buy some Gorilla Glue, stick it on, won't show off, won't tear off or nothing. You'll be set.
Oh man. Also surprised they had the Astra docu ready to go, Matt. So they were on it. They were on it.
Wait, is that the Astra Lost in Space or Astra from somewhere?
No, she was not the latest Zenless Zone Zero character, but like 2 characters ago. So
actually, that's a lot longer ago than I would have. You know what? Astra makes sense. That's like 3 months ago, 2 months ago,
something like that. Matt, yeah, I think so, because the Eve banner was 3 weeks. Her banner was 3. Anyway, sorry, I apologize to Rakush because I opened the Zenless Zone Zero floodgates because Matt, new update last week to one of our favorite games of the moment, Zenless Zone Zero. Have to check in. Matt, how's the new update treating you?
Jaren, it's going pretty well. I got through both of the new pieces of story content. I'm playing through the new Hollow Zero content. The mini games that they put in the HIA were pretty fun. And Jaren, I don't know if I like the weird mini game the weird just kind of like talking segments they have for Pulchra's thing.
So this was an event that started, I think, a day or two ago. So Pulchra, she's the new A rank operator or agent that you can roll. You do get a free copy for doing I believe it's the HIA Bangbu missions or so.
March on Tiny Titan.
Yes. Fun mission. Matt,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am still in my Miyabi phase where despite being given a trial team, I'll always turn it off and instantly go to my Miyabi team. But
Jaren, like they say, if it's not ice resist, it's Miyabi weak.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. But yeah, I think the Pulchra event itself, one, I was kind of bummed out it didn't start right away when you received her from doing the missions because Matt, you know me, I gotta grind those social link points so I can get the background. But I think it's such a weird, I don't know, Matt, how do you feel about Pulchra as a character compared to how we are introduced to her in the story mode?
As a character, I think it's really weird that she's here. She is, I feel like, so clearly was just made a character through like fan input rather than I feel like devs were planning to make her a character all along.
Yeah.
So her reason to join the Sons of Caledon being just, hey, they're paying me now, so now I'm here and a character in the game is so flimsy, but as a character within the game, I actually really, really like playing her already.
So since Matt, let's be honest, I didn't roll the new S rank character and I'm pretty sure you didn't either. So let's talk about our girl Pulchra. How does she? I don't know. How is she in your current rotation of, I guess, agents?
So she is currently. So I'm using her in a team of Bernice, Jane, and Pulchra right now because I think that's really the only one where I can get her to fit in a standard, I think, like gameplay rotation. Because, you know, Pulchra is bringing in the kind of new mechanic that was brought in this season of aftershock attacks, where, you know, it's just additional attacks from off-field agents. And, you know, the way it works for Pulchra is going to be similar to the way that it works for Trigger, where you are able to, you know, use her special attack. She gains, you know, stacks of her, you know, resource. And then when she's off field and you either finish a combo string or you use a EX special attack, she will follow up with a additional attack of her own using like the resources that you've built up with her. Jaren, I actually very much appreciate her being here as well because I think she's the first character that I actually use that has an evasive assist versus a defensive assist, which, you know, is very nice for those attacks that you need the evasive assist for instead of the defensive assist. Right. And I think they did a very, like, you know, good job of, one, when she evasive assists, I don't know if this is for everybody because, again, like, I don't really use evasive assist characters. It puts you into a vital view for quite a long time. And even when you switch back off of her, it still stays in vital view. And that feels really, really good with Jane in particular.
Okay.
And I really like that, you know, her switch is, you know, when she does an attack, the kind of quick assist is a back quick assist. So it goes to the character before her in line rather than after, like most characters. So it really, really helps with, you know, having a central strong character that you want to switch into all the time. So like my Bernice will quick assist into Jane, and then Pulchra will also quick assist backwards into Jane because of how I've arranged them on the team.
Right.
And it flows like very, very nicely, I think.
Okay. Matt, gotta ask, how many copies do you have, or are you just rocking the Zero Pulchra?
Yeah, I'm just on like M0 Pulchra.
Okay.
I want to roll on, you know, Silver Anby's banner for Pulchra, but I don't want to trigger Silver Anby.
Right.
Because I think, like I mentioned before, I have a guarantee on my next 50-50 to, like, you know, get the banner character, and I'm going to be saving that for Trigger.
That's totally fair. And
yeah.
one of my friends that does play Zenless Zone Zero as well, who did roll Ambi, messaged me the other day saying, new Ambi doesn't feel that good. And that, to me, Zenless Zone Zero is all about feeling good. And, I got a M6 Lucy. I think that's my goal for now. And then maybe in addition to building Soldier 11, I'll also build Pultra as well. But other than that, Matt, you noted that you also finished the latest story chapter. In terms of lore, Matt, was it just me or the fact that your central characters, Bell or Wise, roaming in the hollows seems pretty? I don't know how it sits. It doesn't sit right with me. But how are you feeling about the story update?
I thought that was very weird. I had heard through leaks and stuff that the main characters are going to be getting like a quote unquote like power boost. And I thought it would just be more stuff in battle. Like, for example, like how in Hollow Zero, you're able to use like left trigger to pull in the Bang Boo or something. And I thought, maybe standard fights would get a left trigger, ability that would come from the siblings. But them walking inside of the hollow is weird because like I feel like they made so much effort into making the Bang Boo walk there that it seems, I don't know, counterintuitive to me that they would also make the proxies themselves walk there.
And I don't know, I think there's a certain charm when you do control the Bang Boo. To be fair though, that's a minimal amount of walking time, especially during Hollow Zero. And when you are traversing the hollows, you are usually playing as your one of your agents. So to play as Bell, to play as Wise, moving around and having that being kind of no different than you walking in the overworld, I feel that was underwhelming. Maybe it's because I wasn't paying attention to the story, but that, I don't know. It just felt like it came out of nowhere. Hey, the mayor's keeping an eye on you, crazy kids. Here's a USB drive to upgrade your eyes. So now you can. I don't know. It felt kind of ham-fisted to me. It wasn't really something that sat well, but I'm curious to see if this either results in a actual playable Wise and Bell. I doubt it, just because as the story has kind of made them out to be, they're pretty weak. They're pretty weak and fragile, so doubt they'll get the combat experience. But similar to the L trigger, maybe they can do an assist or something. But what's up, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because like I feel like if maybe I'm just misremembering, but one of the things that they were saying is, their abilities are limited because of the HDD system. And if they make the HDD system, better, then maybe they'll be able to do actual stuff in the hollow rather than just, walking around in that mundane sort of stuff. Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if, they become A rank agents or, eventually get their S rank agent pulls.
Fair enough. Rakush, if the mayor offered you to upgrade your eyes through a USB stick, would you do it?
No.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But not anything else from the ZZZ update. What's up?
Are you plugging the USB into your eye?
Matt, how does it work?
No, it's a very convoluted story. So the two main characters in Zenless Zone Zero are kind of like intrinsically linked to this computer system that allows them to, do stuff that normal people can't. And as a result of this system, it not only like takes a lot of power to run, it physically taxes the people to use it. And what the mayor did is he gave him a USB stick that, in essence, now that I'm kind of recounting the story, is downloading more RAM to the computer system to like remove stress from the people operating it.
Follow-up question, Rakush. Would you download more RAM?
Would I download more RAM? Yep. Always. I'm actually always looking for more RAM, but
okay.
I'm gonna act like I understood all that.
All right. No worries, Rakush. No worries. But yeah, Matt, Any
Mhm.
So we have Trigger around the corner. You said you're rolling for her, definitely. I'm also
Mhm.
gonna roll that banner. But Matt,
Mhm.
since you kind of are swimming through the leaks as well, is Vivian next or is it our boy Hugo?
Vivian's next.
Okay.
Jaren, I don't really have I think like a set, not a set, a good team balance for attack characters. I think
Right.
I'm just like so deep in Anomaly that I have to go that way.
Right. Wait,
Mhm.
what is Vivian anomaly or is she an attacker?
She is Ether Anomaly from what I've been seeing.
Not
Mhm.
severely lacking in that regard. Severely
Mhm.
lacking in
Mhm.
that regard myself personally. But
Yeah.
yes, that was Zenless Zone Zero, the latest update. So I believe we have 2 more weeks of the Anby banner, and then I guess 3 weeks of the Trigger banner. And
Mhm.
that that makes my tummy hurt because we're looking at what, late April, early May for our girl Vivi, and where does the time go? Rakush, where does the time go?
Time. I mean, it goes. I don't know. Time goes.
It
It
goes.
goes.
It goes. It goes. It goes.
Okay. But that was Zenless Zone Zero for the week. We'll be sure to check in once our girl Trigger comes out. But speaking about uh, time distortion, Rakush, are you a big Silent Hill fan?
I mean, as a concept, yes. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't like playing scary games because I don't want to find
Fair.
out that I'm scared of things.
Okay.
So I respect it. What do you got for us, Jared?
So earlier this week, or late last week, we did get our first glimpse at Silent Hill F, which Otto Martin reports that Silent Hill F will also be the first game in the series to be rated 18 plus in Japan. As for the upcoming Silent Hill F, the storefront description suggests that the Zero Z rating itself is primarily due to the game's depictions of crime. The Steam page further warns of depictions of gender discrimination, child abuse, bullying, drug induced hallucinations, torture, and graphic violence. Of course, this is the title that has a scenario written by Ryokishi Seven, author of Yuminiko and Higurashi When They Cry.
Oh.
So yeah, Silent Hill F is currently being developed for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X. Boys, did you watch the trailer when it released last week?
Mhm.
Matt, what was your initial vibe seeing, I guess, the first real quote unquote Japanese inspired Silent Hill?
Oh, I didn't even actually consider that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually just did not book that at all. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is a creepy Japanese story. That's. I think I just overwrote everything in my head about Silent Hill, and that it was
Right.
always Japanese. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm just like, what do you call it? Overwriting it with Fatal Frame.
Right.
Yeah, it really did give such strong Fatal Frame. What was it? Siren energy. And I think when you think about Silent Hill as a property, especially what it is to Western audiences, is that Silent Hill was always this horror franchise that was essentially Western horror sensibilities through a Japanese lens. So to have an actual Silent Hill take place in a fictional Japan town rather than, I believe, the New England that it usually takes place in, this has, gotten some or a portion of the Silent Hill audience kind of, not looking forward to it, saying that it goes against the spirit of Silent Hill and, the normal, this should have been a spin-off or another property in general. But kind of Rakush, as someone who does appreciate, I guess, just horror aesthetics when it
Yeah.
does come to other media, what's your take on essentially them moving Silent Hill away from this American town and then focusing on this more rural Japan?
Um, I'm sure more diehard fans will justify the idea that like, oh, it's a bad idea to move it out of New England and like, move it into Japan or what have you. I think at the end of the day, whoever's writing the story, whoever's building the game, has to build something that they're interested in, right? And so, like, if the team on Silent Hill F is more interested in telling this story, if they feel like this change is going to make it, it's going to refresh or reinvigorate the franchise, do it up. Um, I do also, I mean, I know this came up a couple of weeks ago. We were chatting about just this idea of like, taking risks, right? Like, do something different with some of these long-standing franchises. Do something fresh, as opposed to just kind of like, sticking to the tried formula. I don't know if it's always tried and true, but yeah, in this case, I think like, from everything I've seen of it, I I dig the aesthetics. It does seem like the rating thing that you read out makes it seem like it's going to be a very intense experience, though. Um, but yeah, I think in general, look, like if this is the story that the author wants to tell, the writer wants to tell, the developers want to tell, I'm all for it.
And Matt, I think when I name dropped Ryu Kishia 7, that got a point of interest from you. Is this, in terms of everything you've seen so far, all the information that's released? I guess first to you, Matt, is this something that you're going to keep your eye on more so than, let's say, the Silent Hill 2 remake that came out last year?
To be honest, probably not. I think I'm one step further in further in my not wanting to play Silent Hill than Rakush, in that I know that I'm gonna be scared.
Right.
And I don't wanna have that in my head. But
Okay.
I don't know. This is something that I'll probably like see what people are saying or talking about it, because I don't know. The aesthetic is like, very interesting. Like, creepy Japan has always been an interesting aesthetic, and I'm interested in seeing what weird stuff they're going to put into this.
And Rakush, to follow up what you said about, horror games, while you do have an interest, not necessarily your cup of tea, have you, do you think this is something that you would consider watching a playthrough on, or do you think you're kind of not really gelling with horror would even make you want to steer away from, say, watching a playthrough?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would give it a shot. I don't know if I'd be able to watch kind of like the whole thing without commentary. Like if I'm watching
Right.
a let's play like on a Twitch, for example, where there's like, someone that is actually playing it. So there's like it's like this, I guess, like the weirdest way, like, or the best way I can describe it is like someone is acting as a filter or wall from the jump scares.
Hmm.
Then like I think it might be fine. But yeah, I just think in general, like I don't play games to feel like, anxious about stuff, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
not lately at least. And so yeah, jumping into a game or into a genre specifically that is very specifically trying to evoke anxiety is something I try to avoid. But look, like it does look interesting. I think even just kind of like, some of the small town aesthetics of it do look interesting. I did watch a show on Disney Plus recently called Honeyball or something like that, where I think it's Honeyball. I could be wrong about the name, but it's another one of those like, oh, you're in a small town. At least from what I caught, you're in a small town, and there's like, a lot of old customs and rituals and traditions, and that adds a little bit of like that anxiety and fear in as well. It does seem to be a little bit of a popular trend and topic that's being covered in like, a lot of crossover media lately, so not shocking.
Hmm.
But yeah, I may give it a shot. Not playing
Yeah.
it, but watching it.
Fair. The reason I brought that up is just that you reminded me how, like you boys, I'll say it, I'm a sweet baby boy where sometimes horror games, horror movies, horror adjacent media kind of give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Where I remember with not Silent Hill, Resident Evil 7, I consumed that purely through live streams and watching people play. And it's so kind of interesting to, as you said, have that filter, have that layer between you and the game, just because when you're watching someone else play it, it seems a lot less intense. It seems a lot less scary. And, likewise, when I played through Resident Evil 8 when that came out, I was pooping my pants the whole time. But then I turned back to a VTuber who was playing it, and I think, she got scared or he got scared, and monkey clapped at the same time. Where, Matt, when it comes to, I guess, games that might not necessarily be your cup of tea,
Mhm.
does it become more, I guess, digestible, or do you even seek it out, even if a VTuber or a streamer you like is playing it, or is just you're not gelling with it enough not to make you want to check out the content?
I think for kind of stuff that is, I guess like Silent Hill specifically, for example, the gameplay of Silent Hill for me has never been something that's appealed to me. Outside of the horror stuff, it just as a game never looked interesting. It always looked, slow. It's not actiony enough for me. So when I even am like, going to see it in, like VTuber stuff, I'm not seeking it out. It is being served to me, and I am looking to see if it is, funny, or
Okay, fair.
there's like a good commentary on it or something. Like I'm never really like looking to find this kind of like gameplay or
Okay.
games in particular.
Fair enough. But yeah, Silent Hill F, maybe I'll check it out. I do dig the aesthetic,
Guys,
and I'll report back. What's up, Rakush?
only thing I want them to add to this game, Jaren, is the ability to press F to pay respects.
Of course, of course. But before we move on, we have our pal Julian, who I asked to weigh in on the whole, is Silent Hill outside of New England still Silent Hill? Him being the resident, him being the Resident Evil fan and Silent Hill fan of the Mistake Zone. I just wanted to share his take real quick before we move on. But I asked him what he thought about the reaction of, Silent Hill staying in kind of this, again, American horror through a Japanese lens. And our friend said, it depends on what Silent Hill truther you are. End of the day, there are two versions of Silent Hill. One about Silent Hill being a cult in a small town, America, and the other is about Silent Hill being purgatory for the guilty, and it's a torture gauntlet they either pass or die trying. If you believe in the former, then yeah, it doesn't make sense, but you haven't had a game since Silent Hill 3, so like the franchise has been dead to you for decades at this point. If you believe in the latter, then the game has always left the town. Even Silent Hill 4, a game by Team Silent, left the town. If you include the American ones, then they've also been outside of the state, and one was all a dream. It has the name, but there has been as many games that aren't in the town than there are. If you want to look at it on a meta sense, then you can argue that the inspiration for Team Silent made Silent Hill games were inspired by American horror. This seems to be directly inspired by Japanese horror, so it's still. Wait, sorry. My Chrome just crashed, so I think this is a sign where I need to upgrade my PC. But
Maybe your PC got
thanks,
haunted.
Julian, for I'm just pulling it back, but yeah. For Julian, all this to say, I think it's fine. It'll have more eyes on it when the name, with the name, and if it ends up being a good game, then there's a win for everyone involved. And if it sucks, then there's like more bad Silent Hill games than good ones at this point. So just add it to the pile. But yeah, thanks, Julian, and thank you, Chrome, for boys. Should I move on to Firefox?
I mean, I moved on to Firefox a bit ago, and honestly, I don't like Firefox as much as I did like Chrome.
Yeah.
But I think Firefox is what I'm gonna stick with, just because I like the stuff that seems to be happening to Chrome.
Okay.
I'm-
Rakush, what's your browser of choice?
I'm still on Chrome, but I would like to hear more about these things that are happening to Chrome.
It's kind of just like all the upgrades happening to, like the quote unquote upgrades happening to Chrome, where the big one for a lot of people is that Chrome is like going to start to, and from what I can tell, has been disabling just ad block stuff in general.
Oh,
And-
screw that.
Yeah, like it has been automatically turning it off for people, and from what I've heard, it is, you can turn it back on now if you know how to, but that is not going to be a possibility in the future.
The day that
and-
happens, I'll switch over to Firefox.
Yeah, like I already know, like friends of some friends of the show have already had their Chrome do their forced like turn off. They did turn it back on, but I've made that jump to Firefox like I want to say mid last year, and while I do think that there is some problems with Firefox, I think I'm going to be sticking with it for the Chrome reasons.
Fair enough. But speaking about Silent Hill F, and again, the store description did mention that there was some hallucinations and stuff to do with bullying, and honestly, just being a teen. Being a teen is hard, boys. But kind of on the same vibe, kind of. Matt, Rakush, I still had a few Steam Next Fest demos installed, and I thought, hey, don't have time to hunt some monsters, so maybe I'll just check out some of these demos. And the first demo I checked out this week was Pastel Parade. And this, Matt, have you checked out Pastel Parade?
I've watched some of it, and I couldn't tell just from, I guess like trailers and stuff. Jaren, is this just Rhythm Heaven?
Matt, Rakush, this is Rhythm Heaven if it was a slice of life, where you play as, I guess, a group of 4 high school girls who go off on daily adventures, all backed up by rhythm, where maybe you're going to a local cafe to take part in a competition, maybe you're going to go to the beach to play some volleyball, or maybe you're just gonna walk home from school playing hopscotch and then start a band and just jam out. Where, boys, I've gone on record numerous times here on the Mistake Zone that I love me a good rhythm game, but Matt, Rakush, I'm not good at Rhythm Heaven adjacent games where without the visual marker scrolling towards me, I don't know, I'm not able to keep the beat. Where, Matt, how are you with the Rhythm Heaven type rhythm games?
I mean, I'm okay at them. I really like them as a genre. And I really enjoyed, kind of recently-ish. I can't remember what episode I talked about this on, but I really enjoyed my time with Melatonin. I don't know if you ever ended up playing that, Jaren.
I did not, unfortunately.
But yeah, like the Rhythm Heaven games, I think have all been very enjoyable to me, except for the mini games where they want you to play on the offbeats. Those ones just destroy me.
Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Rakush, where does Rhythm Heaven fall in your gaming career?
I don't know if I played a lot of it, to be honest. Like, rhythm games in general, the most I can remember playing are like, your Guitar Hero 3s, some of the Rock Bands when I was like, hanging out with folks. Elite Beat Agents, I think, was like, a good one.
Oh, of course.
But like, I don't think I got into Rhythm Heaven, no.
Right. Where Pastel Parade, fun. It has a fun art style, really vibrant colors. But the reason why I bring up that really rough transition from Silent Hill F is, you begin as Nagi, and I believe Amani comes to bother you, who's in your class, and she takes you on an adventure, forming a band, meeting up with some new friends. And at the end of the demo, Nagi kind of wakes up and thinks, wait, who was that girl? And who were those people? So, Matt, over under, does this game get weird, or do you think this sticks the, cozy slice of life landing?
I don't know. That sounds like it could land this cozy slice of life landing. This is giving me vibes of Jared, what was that show where they go on like a retreat and they learn something from a ghost who runs like the hotel or something?
That baseball anime, Cinderella 9, I think?
Yes. Cinderella 9, where they go on a retreat and learn baseball from a ghost.
Rakush, would you go on a retreat to learn baseball from a ghost?
Yeah. I think I'd do that.
Nice.
Ignoring everything I said about not finding out that I'm scared of stuff.
But what if the ghost is cool?
That's why, yeah. I might go check it out. I feel like if a ghost is trying to
Uh,
teach you something, he's probably not trying to, or he or she's probably not trying to haunt you.
eh,
No,
that's questionable.
they just want you to be better at the game for the
Like,
love of the game.
yeah, like are you gonna be like jump scared to death if you strike out or something? Like that, it's a different story then. But I don't know. I think the ghost would
No,
be
I
cool.
think he's just gonna be sad because he's stuck in purgatory because he couldn't help
Mhm.
another person be good at baseball.
You know what you guys should watch actually is a movie that me and my grandpa actually used to love watching. It was from his day. It's called Blackbeard's Ghost. It's a Disney movie from like
Mm.
the 50s or 60s. That actually is basically this concept where Blackbeard comes back and has to help a high school varsity coach win something or like basically do a good deed in order to escape purgatory and then like move on to the
Mm.
afterlife.
Oh. I
Man.
honestly thought you were gonna say Angels in the Outfield.
Angels in the Outfield is one of those two. But yeah, no,
Mhm.
Blackbeard's Ghost is like, of course, like, more of a relationship between me and my grandpa thing. But yeah,
Hmm.
Mhm, mhm.
No, that's good. Maybe I'll check it out because I do like that as a story trope.
yeah.
Uh Final point about the Pastel Parade demo. Really liked it. I thought the songs were catchy, but Matt,
Mhm.
hate to say it, no, bro. The
Mhm.
demo has
Mhm.
achievements.
Oh, God.
Ooh, I still don't like that. That still seems okay. Again, Jaren, is this achievements for the full game or these are demo achievements?
I'm not sure. Jury's still out on that just because this hasn't come out, but
Mm.
we'll see if when the full game comes out if my achievements carry over.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
Rakush, we didn't get to ask you last week. How do you feel about demos having achievements?
I don't like that concept because, like, if you're a completionist, now, thankfully, I've kind of, like, untrained a little bit of that from, like, my gaming habits. But if you're, like, a completionist and you have, like, half completed achievements, then I feel like you're going to feel more compelled to want to get the game and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, of course, like, if you don't feel like you can walk away from that, might need to go get some help. But I don't like it.
Fair, fair. But the other demo I checked out this week was something that might resonate with all of us, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. Boys,
Mhm.
this is a tiles game. This is a tactics game, which has a style reminiscent to. Do you guys remember the Hitman Go games?
Yeah.
Yes.
So essentially, you're moving around a grid with a Ninja Turtle game piece, for lack of a better word. And it kind of reacts to a typical tactics game. You have a number of actions that you can perform per turn. So you want to move around the board, attack other enemies while being able to potentially retreat to get out of the line of sight of other enemies. So it I personally really like that board game aesthetic from the Hitman Go and I believe the Lara Croft Go games of yesteryear. So already I thought that it did look charming. I think you do get some pretty good animations when you do your attacks. And it has that thing I like about tactics games where you're on a game board, but that game you only have a limited amount of grid that you can traverse. But one of the
Mhm.
actions you can do is essentially kick your opponent off of the grid and having them fall into the abyss, which I think is a good goof. And I think another thing that is interesting, what it does is the fact that there's a hint of kind of urgency just because the grid kind of falls apart during certain turns. So not only are you trying to clear the board, but you're also trying to move to the next part before the previous area kind of collapses. So it's a pretty tight demo. You only play as Michelangelo, but eventually
Mm.
I'm guessing you're going to unlock the other turtles and maybe opens up to unlocking their different friends as well. Story wise, I think Shredder and Splinter are dead, and it's some lady ninja trying to go after you to steal something for some scientist person. But boy, I'll admit it, I don't know new Ninja Turtles lore. But from a pure gameplay perspective, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown is a pretty impressive demo that I'll keep my eye out on. But Matt, as a tactics fan, does that sound like anything you'd be into?
Yeah, it sounds like pretty interesting. I've been watching gameplay while you've been talking about it, and it looks like very interesting. I didn't even know that this was a thing,
Hmm.
but the gameplay, kind of in particular, the small grid and knocking the enemies basically off of the map, is very reminiscent of Into the Breach for me.
Right.
And I don't know, this looks very interesting, and I do want to give this a try now that I know it exists.
Okay. And Rakush, I think, would you say we're in I wouldn't say it's a Ninja Turtle renaissance, but I feel like the Ninja Turtles as a property has been experimenting with a
Mhm.
lot of genres recently, whether it be your Hades roguelite, now with this tactics game. Um, Rakush, what genre would you like to see the Ninja Turtles come to?
To be honest, like this is actually a really good genre. The I feel like if you're talking about a genre that doesn't necessarily fit kind of like the energy of Ninja Turtles, tactics would be it, right? But at the same time, like
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes this a lot more intriguing. As you guys are talking about that, I actually got like extremely nostalgic for this old Flash game, Gundam Wing Flat like Wing Assault. I don't know if you guys ever played the Flash games on Cartoon Network, but this was one of those games where like it's and the reason I was remembering it is it's because again like this like weird franchise and tactics combination that like just works. So suddenly it's like, I'm almost more hopeful for TMNT. Like you're actually convincing me quite a bit to play this game.
Mm.
Final question, Rakush.
Uh-huh.
Do you think the last Ronin game will ever come out?
The last Ronin game?
So this was announced a few, what was it, years ago now, where, they'll be adapting that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story, The Last Ronin, uh, developed by Black Forest Games and published by THQ Nordic. But other than its initial announcement, we haven't seen anything from it. Where, yeah, question still stands. Do you think this game will ever come out?
I mean, at this point, probably not, right?
Which is a shame, just because. Did you read The Last Ronin, Rakush?
To be honest, I didn't read a lot of the Ninja Turtles comics, so
Okay.
that's something I'm very unfamiliar with.
Okay. I was gonna ask if, in theory, I don't know, what would The Last Ronin be? Would this be more so, Ghost of Tsushima? Would you want it to be more Sekiro-like? But, what would you want The Last Ronin game to be, Rakushin Matt?
Wait, Jared, sorry, I just looked up The Last Ronin. I have seen this graphic novel in chapters recently. I didn't realize this was a Ninja Turtles thing.
Yes.
I should probably go buy it then.
Might be up your alley.
Honestly, looking at the Last Ronin, and I kind of wish that this wasn't a 3D game and is something more along the lines of Mark of the Ninja.
Oh, right, right. And boys, we might be on the cusp of a 2D ninja renaissance, just with Shinobi coming out and a lot of other games. So who knows? To be fair, we've seen nothing about The Last Ronin from THQ, and honestly, I'm not sure what THQ has put out lately that gives me hope.
Didn't
But
THQ get bought out by like the venture capitalist guys?
yes, and I don't know what's the deal with THQ anymore. Where I'm on the Wikipedia right now, and in terms of one of their latest games, oh, they released the Remnant games.
Huh.
Those were okay, right, Matt?
Sorry, what was that, Jared?
They released the Remnant games.
Oh yes, I really like Remnant. It was like very good.
Okay.
Guys, earlier I said, when I was talking about I wanted to be like Mark of the Ninja rather than a 3D game.
Yeah.
The reason I said I'd rather it not be a 3D game is because I was looking up to see like any trailers or gameplay of Last Ronin, and I thought I saw a gameplay video of it, but someone just modded the Ninja Turtles into Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and I thought this is actual gameplay of the game.
Amazing.
Damn, can't trust anything on the internet these days, boys.
This looks good, yo. I should play Ninja Gaiden 2.
Right. Oh, I have that downloaded on the Matt. Okay, I'll play it if you play it. I have it downloaded. But real quick, boys, I have to be greedy once again, just because I spoke to you, Matt, and Julian about the immediate Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 announcement, and since that
Hmm.
episode, it has been officially announced, but there has been some hubbub throughout the community, and I wanted to break it down real quick to you guys, just because I know Matt, not the biggest fan of the Tony Hawk games compared to me, Rakush. I'll check in with you just to see where you kind of stand with the franchise. But a few weeks ago, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 was officially announced for a July 11th release. But of course, if you buy the digital deluxe edition, you can play it 3 days early on July 8th, early access. If you pre order the digital deluxe edition, you'll also receive the Doom Slayer and the Revenant as playable skaters alongside other Doom related in game items. But when this was officially announced, uh, the internet went abuzz over some of the game summary points, mainly that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 will be authentically remade in jaw dropping 4K resolution with streamlined goals and the epic 2-minute timer format, which, for those unaware, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 did follow the 2-minute timer, complete as many goals as you can in that time that the Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 did follow. But Tony
Hmm.
Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is kind of where the diverged from that, where you had a lot bigger levels. You would skate up to different NPCs around the map. They would, say some cheesy dialogue, and then you'd have, a certain amount of time to do a specific goal, or I'll add some editorial here, some really janky mini games. So Kotaku was able to confirm with Activision that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 will not include the original career mode found in the original THPS 4. Instead, like the first three games, each THPS 4 level will feature a list of challenges to be completed in a 2-minute run. And although they did announce that 3 brand new levels will come to this package, the summary also said that there was only going to be 16 classic levels that will return. And if you exclude the 3 unlockable levels in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 that were from the first game, there should be 18 and 19 combined levels in all between the two games. So there is speculation running around right now that a few of the bonus levels will be dropped as well. When we get to the skaters, as I kind of hinted a few weeks ago, Bam Margera will not be returning to the game, and Mike Valley, who was a unlockable skater in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, I believe is also not returning as well. And in terms of the soundtrack, we're going to get that revealed in 3 waves. The first wave was revealed, but Chad Muska, who is a confirmed skater in the game, he revealed on Instagram that the 3 songs that he produced for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 will not be returning. So
Damn.
the internet, or at least the vocal audiences that I've been following, the communities I've been following, their anticipation for this game kind of dropped when all of this started to kind of come out. And I kind of wanted to ask you guys, as outsiders looking in, not necessarily with a horse in this race, how do you guys feel about, dramatic changes when it comes to these remakes of classic games that really do have a nostalgic hold on so many fans of the franchise?
I mean, I feel like a dramatic change is kind of bad, even though maybe I'm just colored by the way that you were talking about it, in saying that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4's, I guess, like career mode that got replaced did have some janky stuff in it.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be worth replacing it, but I feel like you're in kind of like a lose-lose situation when you are making dramatic changes, especially with regards to a remake, or something that is like in the remake-ish realm.
Right. How about you, Rakush? Wait, actually, I should ask Rakush, what's your kind of fondness to the Tony Hawk franchise first?
I think pop culture wise, I have a big fondness for it.
Mhm.
1 and 2 more than 3 and 4. 3
Right.
sort of, but not as much for 4. Um, I kind of feel like if you're going to be making as many changes as you are to a previous iteration of the game, you might as well just make a new game, right? Like,
Right.
it's not just fixing janky stuff, from what you're saying at least, right? I haven't read up on it too much, so I kind of have to go off of what you're sharing here.
Fair.
It sounds like it's more than just fixing janky stuff. It sounds like it's replacing things that were working fine, or it's like, um, like No Bam Margera, for example. Now that one, of course, like there could be external reasons for that. He's had a little bit of a rough go at it in the last couple of years, so maybe it has something to do with that. Who knows, right? But I do feel like remakes, simply from a marketing standpoint, have to use nostalgia to sell you on the game. Where's that nostalgia coming from if you're taking all these things out, right? And so that's where it's
Right.
like the online discourse around this. I know online is always like, the louder ones might not necessarily mean the most. It just means the loudest. I get that.
Mhm.
But in this case, like, I do think there's some validity here to just kind of like, if you're making all these changes, what are you selling a fan of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 on with this remake or re-release?
Yeah. Where again, I personally THPS 4 is a game that I have, in terms of if I were to rank all the Tony Hawk games, it would kind of be towards the bottom, where it is that transitional game where it took the steps needed to make it have a bit longer, give it a lot of a longer lifespan or staying power within kind of the medium, just because I don't think it would have survived as long as it did if it just stuck to that 2 minute timer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, with the openness of THPS4, I feel like that wasn't fully realized until you got to the next game, Tony Hawk's Underground, and then Underground 2, and then American Wasteland, where for me personally, this doesn't really change much for me just because, again, I don't have that nostalgia. But for someone who does have nostalgia for the game, who this was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was their first game, I can definitely see where they're coming from, why they're disappointed, and why they might just write this off completely just because, I think there's a difference between something like a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 when it makes drastic changes compared to, say, what Square is doing with the Final Fantasy games right now, where I think with the new Final Fantasy 7 remakes, you're putting so much levels of production of really bringing it to the modern era for a game that, when you compare that to the original PS1 version, drastically different. So that also gives you more opportunity to explore, potential new story opportunities while still giving you the essence. Where with something like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, it feels like the production or the budget might not all be there just because, they didn't announce why they're changing the career mode, but at the same time, you have to assume that, oh, they don't have to re-record the voices, or they don't have to kind of expand upon or fix up some of the mini games and stuff like that. So
Do you
I think,
do you
what's up?
feel like more transparency on why these changes being made would make it a little bit more palatable?
I think for me personally, I think I'd just be interested in that from a purely fan of game development and wanting to see, how the butter is made. And I would love to see conversations with that. But I think to your audience, that would be just a way to kind of relieve the fears that, everyone seems to be building. Because again, this wasn't confirmed directly by, Activision or Iron Galaxy. This was coming from a news article from Kotaku. So that's where, if you're not transparent, that's where kind of the fear spreads amongst your community, especially for one that at this point is pretty niche compared to the general gaming audience. But Rakush, I have one more question for
Mm-hmm.
you. I kind of outlined it in terms of, potential a reduction in production, but as I said, the first three waves of the soundtrack were revealed. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater as a franchise, known for its soundtracks, and 3 and 4 in particular had some really classic tunes. In terms of kind of new songs, we are seeing tracks from Denzel Curry, from Run the Jewels, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 specifically, we had a track from AC/DC, we had a track from Iron Maiden, even Eddie was an unlockable skater. But given that, with all these reductions to kind of the career mode of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, and the fact that, your heavy hitters like an AC/DC, like an Iron Maiden, aren't a part of your first wave soundtrack reveal, gut check, Rakush. Do you think they're gonna license AC/DC and Iron Maiden for this remake?
I mean, there might still be hope, right? Because this is just wave one of the soundtrack, and they have Motorhead and Alice in Chains here. They have Gangstar. I don't know if like licensing Gangstar's tracks is expensive or anything like that. But like between Motorhead and Alice in Chains, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic that those will be announced a little bit down the road.
Okay.
But also like looking at this track list, there is something kind of weird about seeing like, and maybe I mean, look, I only found Jeff Rosenstock's music recently, right? So like, I don't know how long he's been around for. Just seeing his music pop up in a game that is a remake of like something from the early 2000s is a little bit jarring. Especially also like Schoolboy Q and Kendrick Lamar, Collard Greens being on here. Like some of these are, yeah.
Bit weird.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for the next two waves, and I'm still kind of confused if you have Chad Musk in the game, why you can't license his music. But maybe we'll get into that when this comes out in July. But boys, I apologize real quick. While we're still on our skateboards, so Skate 4, this is apparently coming out this year. Free-to-play game, next installment of the Skate franchise. There's a closed beta going on, or closed alpha, going on right now, as Insider Gaming reports. EA adds microtransactions to Skate's closed alpha. Known as Sandvan Bucks, this in-game currency allows players to buy various cosmetic items, according to Full Circle, the developer. This is being added to make sure players have a positive experience when purchasing items from the Skate store. Because the game is still in a playtesting state, it's mentioned that the account progress might be reset at times and will fully be reset before the launch in early access later this year. Should you spend any money on Sandvan Bucks and in turn on items, any purchases you make will be converted back to Sandvan Bucks and be made available again at the start of early access. And scheduled to come out this year, free to play on PC and consoles, and expected to come on mobile. Matt, as someone who, on the dev side of things, what do you think of testing kind of microtransactions in your closed alpha environment?
I mean, I get it on why you would want to do that. That's just money coming in. And at least like if I understood what you said correctly, like at least they're like giving the money back if they're gonna change it.
They're giving you your essentially your V-Bucks back, but they're not refunding you your purchases. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's what I expected that to mean. I think it's still skeevy to do it, but from a purely like, hey, we're gonna test this. I get it, but it's bad.
Rakush, how does this make you feel?
I mean, I don't like it. I've historically not liked it. It just feels like another level of like skeevy. Like this is EA still, right?
Yep.
If it were like an indie developer, if it were like a smaller studio, I'd be like, okay, they're trying to generate revenue or funds for it to put back into the game. But this is EA.
I somehow feel like I would have the opposite reaction to that.
Really?
I think so. Somehow, like this being EA almost makes it better.
Because like it's a norm
if an indie was doing it. Yeah, like I think it's because EA established it as the norm. But like if somebody else is doing it, it's like, oh, that's kind of weird.
To be
I think of like an indie, like fully indie, like this is their first
Sure.
game indie was doing it. That would feel way more offensive to me.
To be honest, like I don't like it. Period. It is just that
Yeah,
if you're
yeah, yeah.
trying to make a case for it, I would be more
Mm-hmm.
open to like the explanation that, hey, we're adding this so that we can generate some instant funds to put back into game development. I would at least understand it from that perspective. But just yeah, EA doing it doesn't sit right with me. It's never sat right with me for the record. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
especially on an alpha,
Mm-hmm.
that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not in the closed alpha, and to be honest, the only reason I know about this is the news report that uh, Insider Gaming put out, where um, again, this is a game that a niche audience has been looking forward to for such a long time, and with the latest update from essentially a sea of silence of news when it comes to this game. Sure, there's probably leaks from all the different alphas, but at the same time, for you to kind of log into the news cycle for a game you immediately are looking forward to and see, hey, they're still in closed alpha, but they're charging people for microtransactions. I think that's not a good look, and really, I don't know, it just kills kind of any momentum or anticipation you have for this game. Where you boys know me, I like playing skating games, whether it be arcade games or sim games, and me finding a spot to do tricks for 10 minutes and then calling it a day. Where as a player, I'm still looking forward to the Skate 4 or whatever it's going to be called, just to free roam around, just to trick off some stuff. But when you add in that element of, hey, they're going to add their own version of V-Bucks, there's going to be a store where you can buy cosmetics, that, I don't know, that makes me feel a bit wary, just because it's that notion of when you make a free to play game, it's not guaranteed that this will stick around forever. Where I kind of hope at the very least there might be some sort of package that says, hey, buy the founders edition, and on the off chance that we have to take the servers down, you can still download the game to free skate. uh you know which also reminds me that multiverses, I should probably log in just so I can continue to have access when that thing closes end of May. But yeah, I don't know, boys. Tough times right now to be a skating fan. But I think that's all my news this week. Sorry once again for hijacking that for the skating minute. But before we move on, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
any last minute mistakes that you want to share this week?
I mean, okay, I want you guys' opinion on something that I kind of brought up with you guys through a Discord, I think
Mhm.
yesterday or 2 days ago. I, saw I had linked you guys a bunch of miniature models of
Yes.
Lawson, 7-Eleven, and Family Mart. And, I was going to, spend the $150, to buy these models. But it turned out that two of those models were actually already sold out, and only one of them was available for pre-order.
7-Eleven one. No, the Lawson's one, correct?
Yeah, the Lawson's one was still available because I think it just was the latest one to get released, so they was still around.
Mhm.
But I actually went through a very similar almost purchase a, like a month ago, where I was deeply considering buying, the set of Egyptian gods by who made them? The people who made like the Exodia set, where but they weren't
Oh,
all
you
out
mean
yet, and I felt.
sorry, you mean the Yu-Gi-Oh version of the Egyptian gods?
Yes, yes, yes. The Yu-Gi-Oh versions of the Egyptian gods.
Okay,
Sorry,
not
yes,
just Egyptian gods.
yes.
Sorry,
Yes. I'm just yeah, yeah,
because my first question was going to be why are you just buying regular Egyptian gods? But gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, and like do you guys like, if you can't buy a whole set of something, will you avoid buying the rest of
Ooh.
it? Because this is something that, hey, the Egyptian gods wanted them in the set, couldn't get all of them, so I bailed. The convenience stores, I wanted all of them, but I couldn't get, so I avoided all of them in particular. And there was the I don't know if you know this one, Jaren. It's like that set of kind of figures. I think it's by Figure Arts, where it's all those like museum things, where it's like the Vitruvian Man,
Yeah,
Scream.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like I wanted those, but I couldn't get like the full set, and I felt like I didn't want to buy them. And I wonder how all or nothing you guys are for
Ooh.
sets of figures or stuff like that.
I think like I feel like the Lawson stuff is a little bit different than characters. Like I get why you want like the Yu-Gi-Oh Egyptian gods as a set. Like that feels incomplete if you only have 3. Unless like one of them is like your absolute favorite and you only have one, that makes sense. I feel like
Yeah.
with the Lawson's thing, like you can just have one of those 3. I don't think you need all 3, right? Like it's virtually the exact same thing that you're getting, just different branding. And I don't honestly like I don't know how much space it's gonna take up. I don't think you have that much space.
Those things were kind of like pretty small. Like each building is maybe less than 30 centimeters long.
Oh, that's
From what
okay.
I could tell.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
tiny.
Mhm.
I don't know. I still wouldn't get all 3 of those. I think that one going just for one is okay if it's still available for pre-order.
Yeah, I think for me, it really depends on my fondness of, the duo or the trio. Where, going back to Comic Con and my Jane acrylic stand that I bought, Matt, he also had Bernice, but my Jane Bernice team needs Caesar, where since they didn't have Caesar, I could just go for Jane because as much as I love Bernice, without Caesar, my team's incomplete, so I have to go with Jane at the very least. But where, this goes back to me collecting the Hololive Nendoroids, where I'll be honest, I stopped collecting at some point where I only went for characters that I liked. Well, on the flip side, if they ever do bring the ID branch, I'd be more inclined to seek all of those out just because that's where my fondness lies. Where I think it really depends if to me personally, the set can be completed and I have that fondness for it. Where if I just maybe like one character in particular, I'm okay with just settling on that one character for my collection purposes. But Matt, I mean, you can always get the Fast and Furious set as well to hang out in the parking lot to be joined by Blue Anime
Shit.
Beauty. So
That's a great idea. Damn.
Oh man, I don't know.
But,
Okay, as good as those like minifigs are as a goof, $25 is a lot.
yeah,
They also kind of
that's
look
too
like
much.
ass.
Yeah, I mean, like those
Yeah,
things are
that
like
too.
3 centimeters tall. So
Still,
it's like,
they still
Yeah.
don't look great.
You can only
But,
put so much detail into it.
Matt, alternatively, can I interest you in Zenless Zone Zero, a Happy Shake Rocket Boo complete figure? Would you buy
Ooh.
Bang Boo figures, Matt?
I would buy Bang Boo figures because I feel like in my head, Bang Boo figures don't have a set to them.
Right.
They're just like their own thing.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
But real quick, Rakush, any last minute mistakes that you apologize for hijacking the episode, Rakush? So
No, it's
now's
all
your
good.
time. Any last minute mistakes that you need to tell us about?
Man, I don't know. Like, I actually feel like I haven't made enough mistakes in terms of like purchases.
So you're saying you didn't get old this week?
Okay, do you guys actually want to talk about this? Because I feel like the episode
What
has
happened to you?
not gone this direction. But like, I did pose a question in the chat earlier today and asked if you guys knew what a floater was, right? Now, a floater in the poop term, by the way, not floater in like any other term. Without getting too much into what my job is, there's a new hire that we're going to be calling a floater that's going between like, certain clients and stuff like that.
Oh.
And I just made like a joke in passing to a friend of mine that like, it's a little bit more of like a free conversation than just like, corporate spiel. I was like, they really need to stop calling this person a floater. And this person's like 10 years younger as well. So like, there is like, very much a generational gap where I found out through conversation that the person doesn't know what a floater is. And I don't know, guys, that once again made me feel very old. And like, I don't know, I feel like this one kind of hit me a little bit because I thought like floater is a timeless term.
I mean, honestly, it kind of depends on how much into like, I guess, poop humor or like, medical emergency you're in to like know that term?
I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like if you've been in high school ever, you would know what a floater is.
Honestly, when you posed this question on Discord, all I thought was root beer floats. Because
Really?
I don't have a potty brain, Rakush.
Jaren?
Hmm.
No.
Oh, I don't know
No.
why I answered that.
Let's leave it at that.
Are we getting floats after this?
Oh, God.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm down. I'm down.
It's too cold outside.
But,
Maybe tomorrow. It's supposed to be like 14 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really warm like the rest of the week.
Boys, I want to real quick, now that we're in the rap territory before we end it off. So when we were venturing in the general area this weekend, we went to a local ice cream spot that we used to frequent kind of in our, university days or high school days. And we managed to go right on opening day. So we go in, get some dipped cones, and boys, couldn't enjoy my ice cream because there was someone, loitering in the parking lot, rattling off conspiracy theories. So, boys,
Not the fun
don't
kind?
recommend ice cream and conspiracy theories because that will sour the mood.
So it's like not the fun kind of conspiracy theories. Like Avril
No.
Lavigne has been replaced by a clone.
No,
Dang.
it's one of those, hey, why are you enjoying ice cream when the world's on fire? And,
Oh.
you're checking your phone? You must be researching because I'm right territory.
Oh, God.
That's too intense. I don't like that one.
Yep. I did like the dipped cone. Guys, dipped cone still hit.
Yeah.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
speaking about hits, this has been a beefy boy episode, but you know what that means, boys. Gotta end it off on our Don't Match Me challenge for the week. I'm gonna bring forth 5 questions, and all you have to do is answer. Make sure your answer doesn't match my answer. If you want normal mode, all you have to do is don't match me. But if you want to hit hard mode, you don't have to match Matt and Rakush as well. Plus, since this is a audio journal, if you don't know the answer to my theme of questions, feel free to pause, search something up, and unpause when you have an answer that hopefully doesn't match mine. But boys, I hijacked this episode and turned it into the skating hour, so of course, gotta return to the skateboarding. Well, for my Don't Match Me skate challenge. But first off, boys, we grabbed our skateboards. We're riding around the skate park, so gotta ask, name one thing you would typically find in a skate park. So just we're in our gear. We have our boards ready. What's one thing that we'll typically find in the skate park? So counting down.
Okay.
5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1. Friends, if you said trash can, you're out.
Oh.
Matt?
Oh, that was a lot more general than I thought you were gonna go.
Yep.
Hmm.
What say you, Matt?
Jaren, honestly, my initial thought was a crying kid, but I feel like, that's questionable. My actual answer was a rail.
Oh, fair. Rakush, how about you?
I'm going with an annoying teenager.
Always present.
Always present. So I'm
So now
glad
that
you
we
didn't go with
scope-
crying kid because I feel like that would have tied in and we would have lost.
Fair. No, kid and teen, two different.
Okay.
Still annoying, two different. But boys, we scoped out the area, so we're ready to play our game of skate. I'm gonna go first, and boys, name any flip trick. Name any skateboarding flip trick. So name any skateboarding flip trick in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you know me, you know I love me busting out some 360 flips in skateboarding video games. So my answer is the 360 flip. Matt, what flip trick are you doing for our game of skate?
I mean, I just went with the most, I think, basic one or term that I could think of, which was a kickflip.
Fair enough. Rakush?
Big heel flip.
Nice. We busted out our tricks, and we're still all in our game of skate. But moving on, we busted out our flip tricks, but now we gotta bust out our grabs. So name any skateboarding grab trick.
Okay.
That is the circle button or the right button or right face button if we're playing a Tony Hawk game. But name any skateboarding grab trick. So name any skateboarding grab trick in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went with the grab trick that was introduced in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 to the franchise with the cannonball.
Ooh.
Matt, what grab trick are you busting out?
Jaren, I don't know if this is actually a grab trick or not, but it was the first one that popped into my head when you said it. I thought of the Christ stare.
Yep.
Is that
You're
count
grabbing
or
on.
no?
Well, you're grabbing onto the board, so Matt is busting out the Chrysler. Matt, fun fact, that used to be a special trick in Tony Hawk games. And then I believe it was,
Yeah, I got unceremoniously downgraded.
to a normal trick.
Oh, man.
Also could do it in the skate games. But Rakush, what grab are you busting out?
I'm gonna go with the airwalk.
Oh, nice. Nice. Rakush, I used to do the airwalk into my uncle's pool when we would go swimming because I thought I was cool.
That
as a
explains
child.
all of your knee problems.
Yep. Moving on, we busted out our flip tricks, we busted out our grabs. Boys, of course you know this is coming. Now name any skateboarding grind trick. So name any skateboarding grind. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, if you've listened to the Mistake Zone, you know in skateboarding games, I love busting out some tail slides. Not what grind are you busting out?
Jaren, I think I've been being pretty basic so far, and I'm going to continue with the 50-50.
Nice. Good answer.
Ooh, okay.
Rakush?
I'm going with the nose grind, but I do need to
Nice.
say the tail slide was my second choice.
Ooh. Just barely avoided that
Just
one.
barely.
Rakush. Just barely. But boys, we're playing a game of skate right now. So we gotta do the obvious. Name any letter in the word skate.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
We're playing a game of skate, so you name any letter in a game of skate in the word skate.
Okay.
This one's tough.
Okay.
Okay.
Good, Rakush?
I think. Oh man, I'm nervous about this one. We're playing a game here. It's giving me anxiety. Might not play this next week.
You guys, I want to just put this out there. I had to type out skate to make sure I knew what all the letters in it were.
Amazing.
All right.
Okay.
So name any letter in the word skate in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I said the letter S.
Damn.
Oh no, Matt.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Rakush?
I went with the letter E because I was trying
Ooh.
to think of which of the 5 letters anyone would be least likely to pick. Like, what's the most neutral letter in there? And I feel like the letter E is the most neutral letter.
Oh man.
Okay. Good choice. But the boys, wait a minute. This is unprecedented territory because we're playing a game of skate, right?
Uh-oh.
But we have to decide who goes first in our game of skate. So don't match me bonus round to determine who goes first in our game of skate. Rock, paper, scissors. Where if you match me, you lose. If I beat you, you lose. There's only one way to win this don't match me bonus challenge, and that's beat me in rock, paper, scissors.
Should we just say our answers at the same time for this one?
Okay.
Okay.
So
Count us down and
This is gonna
on.
be audio garbage.
Is this gonna be
garbage?
Are we doing this on 1 or on go?
let's go rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and then we'll say our answers.
Okay.
Okay, boys. Don't match me bonus round. If you made it this far, congratulations, but we got to see who goes first in our game of skate. In rock, paper, scissors, shoot, rock.
Scissors.
Damn.
Damn.
Damn. So close.
You got
Oh,
Craig.
man.
You got Craig.
Lost the bonus.
Sorry, boys. And that is the Don't Match Me skate challenge for this week. I thank you again, friends, for entertaining me in that cluster noise of words. But boys, another beefy boy episode. So once again, gotta thank one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba, for joining me this week and editing this episode.
Yo, thanks, man. And as always, I want to thank you for hosting this episode and bringing us this Don't Match Me challenge.
No probs, Bob. And of course, gotta thank our friend Rakush for joining us this week. Hey, Rakush.
What up?
Thanks.
Oh, thanks, man. So, am I not old because I know what a floater is then? Like, I don't think we settled on an answer on that.
Yes.
Wouldn't that make you old if you know what a floater
But
is?
you
Because
get
the
like
youth don't know
Jaren
what it
did
means.
not know what a floater was.
That just means Jaren's young.
He's okay. So I'm old.
Jaren still
you
has
guys are
the
young.
essence of youth.
Okay.
Jaren still has the essence of youth that has been drained away from you, Rakush.
Oh yeah, soul sapping stuff.
Mhm.
I pooped it all out. It's my soul's in the floater in the toilet.
Mhm.
My
I
soul
just
is a
realized I'm
floater.
older than you guys. Damn, that feels bad.
By like a month.
I'm older than you guys, and I asked my partner if it was okay if I could buy a Jane Daki. So I need to, once this episode ends and I send the file to Matt, I'm just gonna kind of sit and reflect on my life. Want to thank our boy Julian for giving us his Silent Hill take. Don't want to thank Chrome for crashing and putting me in an awkward situation. And I want to thank our friends out there once again for putting up with our nonsense. Until then, Matt, please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all on the New England Silent Hill.